Welcome to Channel Japan. I'm Maki Arai.
And I'm Makiko Tsuda.
Every week, we bring you the freshest information out of Japan right here from a studio here in Tokyo.
From the economy to culture and even foods, if you want to find out what's happening in Japan right now, this is where you'll find it.
And these are our topics for today.
In Project Japan, an interview with a maker of high-tech sensors for bridges.
And 2 reports on robotics. The first is about wearable robots.
And the second, Japanese-developed robots that are easy to use.
And finally, restaurants that are using data to draw in customers. So let's get started. First up is Project Japan. So Utsuda-san, what's our topic today?
Yes, this time we take a look at a company called NTT Data, which is said to be the biggest IT systems provider in Japan. But first I have a picture to show you. Here it is. It's the Tokyo Gate Bridge, which spans across the Tokyo Bay, and I'm sure you're familiar with it.
Of course. I remember it was just completed several years ago. And it looks like 2 dinosaurs facing each other. And I've heard people refer to it as the dinosaur bridge. But is there a reason why they designed it this way?
Actually, yes, there were reasons. It has to do with the area. And many large ships, such as container vessels, go through the bay and under the bridge. So they had to make sure there was enough space under the bridge. And plus, the bridge also lies within a major flight route, meaning there were restrictions on the height as well.
I see. So the unique design has to do with the limitations both above and below.
Yes.
But what does that have to do with an IT systems provider?
That's a good question. And you can't really tell by looking at it, but this bridge actually uses a highly sophisticated technology.
And that is?
That there are various sensors embedded across the bridge and allows the people to constantly monitor the condition of the structure. And NTT Data has a lot to do with those high-tech sensors. But to find out exactly how they're involved, we actually went inside the Tokyo Gate Bridge. So have a look.
The Project Japan. The Tokyo Gate Bridge, built at a cost of over $1 billion. Tokyo Bay, which it straddles, boasts the biggest handling volume of container cargo in Japan. There's an international airport nearby, and the entire area has developed into a huge logistics hub. Local roads are chronically congested with large trucks. The Tokyo Gate Bridge not only functions to relieve heavy traffic, but is also equipped with a high-tech system to monitor the massive flow of vehicles. The purpose is to immediately detect excess stress to the bridge and prevent damage. This is Akito Yokota of the Ports and Harbor Bureau. He first explains how the sections of the bridge are connected.
This section is called the joint. It absorbs the changes in the length of the adjacent section and this section. If you look here, you'll see a gap. Depending on the temperature, the bridge will expand or contract.
This steel bridge actually expands and contracts several centimeters a day, depending on the temperature. The joints are made of rubber and steel, absorbing the changes much like an accordion. But to the naked eye, it's impossible to see how much the joints expand or contract. Are they really absorbing the impact of 2 colliding bridge sections? We were given an exclusive look inside the bridge itself. First, we are shown the lower section of that joint.
This is an accelerometer. It measures the impact when the bridge sections collide.
Going further down, a mass of rubber.
This is what supports the bridge. It's not fixed, but is structured to slide. It has a rubber cover to keep out the dust. We can't check if it's damaged in the event of an earthquake, so it's also equipped with sensors.
These sensors monitor how much the upper and lower sections move when the bridge slides around. They are crucial during earthquakes when workers can't go on site. Sensors are also installed directly beneath the pavement.
This is the central section of the bridge. It's where the weight of vehicles passing over is measured. By using these sensors to measure deflection, we can estimate the weight of vehicles.
Dozens of sensors have been built into the bridge for a variety of purposes. This information system that collects data from sensors and monitors conditions is the main feature of the bridge. Here, about 3,000 pieces of data are processed every second.
We look at a variety of data in deciding whether vehicles can pass over the bridge, such as weather and earthquake information, in addition to monitoring the expansion and contraction on a daily basis. Our job is to ensure that the bridge is operating properly in relation to the temperature of the girders and the expansion and contraction of the bridge itself.
For example, the expansion and contraction of the bridge should be in sync with movements seen under similar temperatures. If they're not, it signals that there's a problem somewhere causing excess stress. This shows the weight of cars passing over in real time.
We can check the condition of the bridge without actually going on site.
This is an advanced safety management system. The technology behind it was developed by NTT Data, a major Japanese IT systems provider. In fact, deployment of this system has already started in parts of Asia. Company President Toshio Iwamoto.
Using big data, we monitor entire bridges to ensure that everything is safe. This is something we are starting to do, and we're actually exporting the system overseas. In Vietnam, a bridge called the Kanto Bridge was recently completed and is equipped with these functions. We've been able to do this by using new technology.
The 3-kilometer-long Kanto Bridge straddles a tributary of the Mekong River in Vietnam. To ensure safety, it is equipped with the same monitoring system as that used by the Tokyo Gate Bridge. NTT Data aims to take Japanese-developed technologies like this to countries across Asia.
NTT Data has set its sights on becoming one of the top companies in the world. What is the aim of strengthening your global business? We're engaged in about 12,000 projects annually, from small to big ones. As an entire group, we always emphasize the importance of an activity we call remarketing. The actions we're taking now are aimed at recreating the market.
After the break, Beyond Bridges. NTT Data President Toshio Iwamoto reveals his international strategy for the information systems business.
Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could do this? We make things like this possible through the power of chemistry. We're the Kaiteki company, Mitsubishi Chemical Holdings.
So, what would be the key to success in expanding your business globally?
Cash management?
Knowing the whereabouts of your money at all times, and managing your money speedily and accurately. Which means accelerating your business for better results.
SMBC Sumitomo Mitsui Banking Corporation.
Asia, the engine of the global economy. Japan, a regional powerhouse. And now, direct from Japan, economic news with a global impact in Chinese, delivered by Nikkei. Read the future, lead the economy. Nikkei, Japan's leading media for business.
NTT Data is one of Japan's biggest IT systems developers. From the 1960s to the 1970s, the company built a data communication system to connect banks across the country. And in the 1980s, they launched an online credit system. Many of the core systems used in Japan today, including the trading platform of the Tokyo Stock Exchange, were designed by NTT Data. As a result, they've developed into a massive player in the telecommunications services sector, with annual revenues of $13 billion. Leading the charge is President Toshio Iwamoto.
What's your view of the financial services infrastructure in Japan today? Business models are changing in various ways, with the growing use of networks and the internet. You can now make credit card payments with your smartphone, with just a small attachment. Everything is becoming possible, so in terms of financial transactions, what you can do is becoming more sophisticated and diverse.
For example, this is a payment system that NTT Data is focusing on.
I'll start up the application. I'm inputting the purchase amount using the tablet.
With this tablet computer and a specialized terminal, it's possible to pay by credit card at any location.
Even if there's no fixed network, you can use free Wi-Fi spots to wirelessly make payments. That's the attraction of tablet-based settlements.
This printed receipt also has a unique feature. To reduce paper waste, the layout has been redesigned while the number of categories remains the same. They say it uses 30% less paper.
Will the detail-oriented style of Japanese companies be a big selling point going forward? That's one aspect. So last year, we revised our global vision one more time and adopted something called the 3 values. One of those is to value the client first. The second is foresight. In this rapidly moving society, we need to look one step ahead. We need to respond with advanced technology. This is critical, and that's what we mean by foresight. And the third is teamwork.
In 1988, BOJNet, a network-based online clearing system for financial institutions operated by the Bank of Japan, was established. Mr. Iwamoto was a member of the development team. Applying that experience, he resolved to break away from the company's inward-looking culture and build an organization founded on teamwork with outside parties.
Our predecessor was the Nippon Telephone and Telegraph Public Corporation. So we used to be a super domestic company. We split off from NTT in 1988. But in the beginning, we were still operating very domestically. About 10 years ago, we started thinking about our corporate vision, a vision of what we wanted to be 10 years ahead. But all the young directors at the time, including myself, said we didn't have time for anything global. With the many developments in the world of IT now, things that happen around the globe affect us in various ways. But we had never done any overseas business until then, so we started out by doing small M&A deals. Then 5 or 6 years ago, we decided to speed up our activities. I would describe our company now as finally reaching the first stage of globalization.
One step was joining the Asian Payment Network this January. The group works together with the central banks of key ASEAN member countries. For example, when overseas tourists come to Japan, they can use bank cards from their home countries to withdraw cash and shop without hassle.
What are you doing to develop new areas of business and grow demand for new products? As a group, we always emphasize an activity we call remarketing. The actions we're taking now are aimed at recreating the market.
Recreating the market. This corporate philosophy was what gave birth to the monitoring system for large-scale bridges. They are carrying out various projects across Asia.
I understand you have many projects in progress right now. You set a goal of becoming one of the top 5 companies in the world. Do you feel you're getting closer? At the time, we were targeting overseas revenue of about $3.5 billion. This year, I believe we'll exceed $2.8 billion. So we'll probably reach that goal within the next fiscal year, a year earlier than we originally anticipated, and are formulating a business plan with that in mind. When you challenge yourself to do something you had given up on, an unexpected path might just open up. I tell my employees to break away from preconceived notions about marketing and try something new.
A company once rooted in the domestic market is now setting its sights on the world as it attempts to break out of its insular shell.
You're watching Channel Japan. Today we have 2 reports on robots. The first is from the Nikkei Online edition.
Yes, but first though I have a graph that shows the number of industrial robots in operation around the world.
So it's clear from that that Japan has the highest number of industrial robots.
It is, isn't it? And Japan is known as a world leader in this field, and Japanese companies have a combined market share that surpasses other countries.
That much? So how much is exported?
Well, annual shipments in Japan are about 100,000 units, of which 72% are bound for markets outside the country. And in monetary terms, annual shipments are worth approximately $3 billion.
So when you say industrial robots, what kind of robots does the term refer to?
Well, the most prominent are those used in manufacturing, but robots are also used in the agriculture, fisheries and construction industries. And in the past several years, robots are being used more widely in offices and social environments, and also public facilities such as power plants.
Okay, so there are so many different types of robots.
There are. But this time we'll be introducing something called a wearable robot.
A wearable robot, that's something we see in anime or sci-fi movies.
Yes, it is. And most wearable robots are still in the development stage, but advancements are being made towards commercialization. And how do wearable robots actually work, and how practical are they? Take a look.
At first glance, it looks like a scene from a science fiction movie. This is a wearable robot. It is being developed by a subsidiary of a major electronics maker. Using it, a person can easily lift a 100-kilogram object. The primary aim is to help factory and warehouse workers carry goods around. This is a compact version. Objects weighing about 30 kilograms can be carried with little stress.
Unlike robots that move autonomously or remotely controlled, this is worn and operated by a person. Typically, at construction sites, large cranes are used, but depending on the process, they're too big and unwieldy. So steel frames and heavy components weighing several hundred kilograms have to be carried by several people. Sometimes, one worker holds objects of several tens of kilograms. The role of this robot is to reduce the burden on people who work in those environments.
The robot is equipped with several sensors that detect the force and direction of a user's arm and leg movements. A motor then moves the robot, amplifying the power of an action. After 10 years of research, the robot is getting closer to practical application.
Development of this type of big robot will still take time. We want to first develop a simpler model within the next year. One that can help workers carry loads of around 20 to 30 kilograms. Then we'll start preparing for mass production and aim to bring it to market by the following year.
The compact model slated for mass production will be priced at about $5,000, with target sales of 1,000 units in the first year. They believe wearable robots will be used in a variety of situations in the future and plan to develop models for specific tasks such as moving and transport, disaster rescue, and marine and space activities. This man is wearing a robot to help with farm work. It was developed by the Graduate School of the Tokyo University of Agriculture and Technology. Last year, they had farmers actually try out the robot to help with picking fruits from trees and cutting branches. It's constructed out of carbon fiber to make it as light as possible and weighs about 7 kilograms. Picking fruit requires a person to constantly raise both arms and bend the knees. This robot allows the arms to be locked in a high position. The knee section has springs to aid in stretching and bending.
My thighs to lower back are supported, and it feels like I'm sitting on a chair, so I feel less stress. There's no single device that can handle every type of farm work. We have to narrow it down. For example, this is for grape farmers. Grapes are grown on trellises, so you work in the same position for a long time. It's very tiring. We were asked to make something that you could keep your position without too much stress.
A decade of developing wearable robots. They say practical trials have been encouraging.
There hasn't been anything until now that could help with farm work without interfering with a person's movements. Machines or robots like this that you could wear didn't even exist, so a lot of the time was spent on trial and error. Now you can wear it and move around with almost no discomfort. It's reached a level where farmers that tried it out found it practical and were satisfied with the performance.
About 60% of farmers in Japan are said to be aged 65 and older. Professor Shigeki Toyama is considering renting out the robots starting this year. The fee will be around $30,000 for a 3-year contract, but he aims to lower that to a third in 3 years.
The number of grape farms is rapidly declining. Farmers are getting older and quitting. But that's not to say that incomes are falling. They make quite a lot of money, but they still quit. Young people could take over, but they don't want to. There's no question that it's actually extremely attractive work. If the work can be carried out with a little less weight and stress, I think it will become a very attractive industry.
The professor will first work on robots for grape farms, but plans to expand into rice planting in the future. and sees demand from Asian countries engaged in terraced rice cultivation. This is an exhibition held near Tokyo. The people carrying big loads are all wearing something on their backs. Robots developed by the Tokyo University of Science. They are used to reduce the strain on the lower back. Just how effective are they? The manufacturer shows us how it works.
It's heavy.
First, a woman holds a 30-kilogram load without turning on the switch. But when it's switched on, she picks it up without any problem. The main characteristic of this robot is that it reduces the pressure on the lower back when lifting heavy objects and bending forward to a third. The movement of the robot is made possible by a material called artificial muscle, which has the property of shrinking when filled with compressed air.
The artificial muscle is in here, and the shrinking force is transformed into a pulling force by a wire, lifting this part. The artificial muscle in here shrinks, helping to bring the body into an upright position.
The robot weighs about 4 kilograms. To lower the cost and minimize malfunctions, it has been made as simple as possible. Another advantage is that it requires no electricity for movement, meaning use in water is possible. It is being developed by Professor Hiroshi Kobayashi of the Tokyo University of Science. He began working on the project after learning many people in the logistics and nursing care field suffered from lower back pain.
Most people who do physical work have lower back problems. This is to prevent that, or to support the lower back. I believe it can be used by workers in all fields, such as factories, logistics, agriculture, forestry, nursing care, and hospitals.
Last year, the university set up a joint venture with a manufacturer in Tokyo and plans to begin production and rentals of robots by this fall. The rental fee will be about $200 a month.
There's never been anything simpler and more effective. With these types of tools as a prerequisite, it will be necessary to think about how to work in a way that doesn't cause lower back problems. It's effective for this problem, so the key for us will be finding a way to convince people to use it.
Well, I'm surprised that there are so many different kinds of wearable robots in development.
I know there were many, weren't there? And one of the researchers we talked to for this report said mass production could start as early as this year, which means it's no longer just a far-off fantasy.
So what are the prospects for this technology as a business?
Well, if you can take a look at this chart over here, according to one study, the wearable robot market is forecast to expand from $130 million in 2015 to $1.3 billion by 2020. It's quite a big jump.
So what are the challenges to widespread adoption?
Well, one issue is the ease of use, and the reporter who went to cover this story tried on various types of robots but found them quite difficult to move around with, and said that they required a lot of practice to control properly. So you probably need a pretty good instruction book and also many training sessions.
I see. Well, considering the potential applications across industries, I hope they'll become more practical soon.
I agree. Now, our next report comes from TV Tokyo's World Business Satellite, and it's about the development of robots with a focus on more practical applications. So what kind of robots are they? Take a look.
Rows of greenhouses.
They're all seedlings. We grow seedlings for farmers.
This is Hardin, an agricultural corporation. Seedlings for over 100 types of vegetables and flowers are grown here. This year, just prior to the peak shipment period in March, they took delivery of a farming robot.
This is a process called grafting, by which we connect strong roots to seedlings that produce tasty fruits and vegetables.
This robot carries out the grafting process. By simply putting the seedlings in place, the stems are evenly trimmed, covered, and connected. In the case of vegetable seedlings, they combine a tasty variety with one that has strong roots. By hand, about 100 seedlings can be grafted in an hour, but this robot works 10 times faster, finishing 1,000 in the same time.
This robot is indispensable because productivity in this industry has traditionally been low.
The robot which they began using full-time from this year was developed by ISO, a company based in the Netherlands. This producer began enlisting the help of robots in the manual grafting process about 15 years ago to meet growing demand. They actually purchased their first robot from a Japanese company. But because of complex operating procedures, it couldn't be used effectively and was ultimately discarded. Difficult to operate and use. This was the impression of Japanese robots. Their search for a user-friendly robot led them to a manufacturer overseas. The development of easy-to-use robots in Japan has started generating strong interest among schools nurturing the next generation of engineers. At a recently held competition, the theme was practical robots.
A personal guardian system that's convenient to use might be interesting.
This student is proposing a robot that monitors a person's movements and health condition, which can be relayed to others in a different location. We visited his laboratory.
Using Kinect, this robot detects people, and the computer sends a signal for it to move closer.
The idea behind this system is for a robot to check the health condition of people in its field and transmit that data to people far away.
You use this button to express how you're feeling that day.
A somewhat familiar shape. He's actually using a development kit provided by iRobot, the maker of the vacuum cleaning robot Roomba.
iRobot sells these development tools, so they're not that expensive to buy.
iRobot began selling a development-use Roomba in Japan 4 years ago. The kit includes plugs to change the signals and costs almost the same as a regular Roomba. What's more,
you can get the specs from the internet, although I have trouble reading English.
Details on how to use the circuits and sensors of the Roomba can be easily found on the internet.
It's fun to learn how it actually works.
So why has iRobot been so open about its technology? CEO Colin Angle explained the reason at a product launch event held in February.
But we believe that the robot industry does not exist to make great demonstrations. It exists to solve real problems. We exist to help people.
He says the purpose is to develop more user-friendly robots like the Roomba by opening up information and encouraging research, while expanding the scope of the robotics industry at the same time. One of their biggest focuses now is
the very large and growing problem of caring for elderly people. Japan even more acutely, the solution must involve robots.
Nursing care robots. The development of such robots is also part of the Japanese government's growth strategy. The Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry has budgeted $25 million to support initiatives in this field. There are also moves within the nursing care industry itself to create more practical robots. On this day, a developer has brought a robot to an elderly care home. Its function is
a machine to watch over the elderly. It's a system to quickly determine what a resident is doing.
Equipped with cameras, sensors, and a tablet device, it is a guardian robot for nursing care facilities. It memorizes the location of beds and monitors patients, alerting nurses when there's an emergency. It is one of several adopted by the Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry as part of the Nursing Care Robot Development Program. Before the practical trial begins, explanations are given to the staff.
This and this.
Using a robot for the first time, she appears a bit nervous.
It really moves a lot. Okay, I'll start it up.
The instructor finishes his explanation. So what does the staff think?
Is there a reason why it's white? We started developing it inside a hospital. I think a key point is how people feel about being watched all the time. It'll be difficult to work with unless it blends into the surroundings more.
The staff point out a problem with its design, which has been made to look more like hospital equipment.
This is a place where people live permanently, unlike hospitals where people come and go. So it won't work unless it blends into this environment. In the case of industrial use robots, there isn't that much of an emphasis on usability and design. So we realize that we have to incorporate those features.
While Oryx Living believes there's a future for nursing care robots, they say a full-scale implementation remains difficult.
Developers are getting all the attention, and nursing care facilities have been left behind. Robots aren't being adopted widely because they lack input from people in the field.
But Mr. Irie also says the nursing care industry itself has been reluctant to the idea. The company plans to continue carrying out practical trials with developers and getting input from people who work in the field.
Nursing care for the elderly is expected to grow into a massive industry, but the situation on the ground is actually extremely tough. We want to help in the development of robots by providing our input.
Closer collaboration between those who make robots and those who use them. That may be the ultimate test for the development of practical robots in Japan. Mitsui & Company.
Sou uma pessoa comum. Eu gosto de apreciar todos os momentos do meu dia. Quanto isso pode me motivar? Como eu posso me manter focada? Tudo ao meu redor, incluindo os momentos do meu dia a dia, é o que eu preciso para me concentrar para a minha luta de 90 minutos. Quero dar esperança às pessoas. A better life, a better world.
Panasonic.
Sasuke, a new type of sports entertainment program conquering the world.
It's about human achievement and people's passions, and I think that relates to almost everybody.
From Japan to the world, Ninja Warrior, Tokyo Broadcasting System.
You're watching Channel Japan. Next, we have another report from TV Tokyo's World Business Satellite.
Yes, it's about the restaurant industry in Japan. Now, restaurants have faced a number of headwinds in recent years, including higher import costs for ingredients due to the weakening yen and also a shortage of workers because of better opportunities opening up with the economic recovery.
And with the consumption tax hike that just kicked in April, I'm sure fewer people will be eating out, and which could hit restaurants hard.
That's true. And amid this, there's a movement now in the industry to better utilize what's being called big data to draw in more customers.
Well, big data is a term we hear often nowadays, but what exactly is it?
Well, just to give a quick explanation, big data refers to a massive pool of data, including sales trends, GPS location information of customers, and interaction of social networking sites such as tweets. And by collecting this sort of data and analyzing the relationship of one set of data to another, businesses believe it can help them better utilize and position their resources and draw up strategies. And this is a trend that's being seen across different industries. So today we'll see how restaurants are taking advantage of big data. Take a look.
A rotating sushi chain in Osaka. Customers who've arrived for lunch first use a touchscreen.
Push 2. 2 adults.
2 adults and 2 children. After inputting the information, they go to their seats. This massive restaurant seats 200 people. Some of the sushi on the menu come around on the belt, while others can be ordered using the touchscreen. In the back, they have a secret weapon to handle the non-stop orders.
This is called the supply instruction system. It shows the amount of sushi that should be sent to customers in the next minute. We send out 2 plates at a time, and the yellow pattern allows us to forecast the optimum portion.
The appetites of customers are categorized as big, regular, and small. They call it appetite power. The forecast is indicated in yellow, red, and white colors, which correspond to the type of topping and amount. Instructions are given by the minute. What's more, the information inputted by customers using the touchscreen, such as the number of the party, seat location, and time since taking their seats, is indicated by color.
The red shows customers who've just taken their seats. They have a big appetite, so it instructs us to put the newly made sushi on these 2 lanes.
The minute-by-minute forecast is made possible by IC tags.
Information from all our stores is stored in a cloud system, which allows us to collect data on what customers ate at a particular time.
Sushi left circling on the belt are automatically removed after a certain time. The accuracy of the forecasts has a direct impact on the bottom line. They say this has helped to significantly reduce waste loss.
Compared to when the store first opened, we've cut waste by 75%.
The turning point came 2 years ago. That's when they began using Amazon's cloud service AWS.
All of our stores are directly connected to Amazon servers over secure networks. Store data is uploaded about once every 15 minutes.
Their 364 stores nationwide generate 1 billion pieces of data every year. The annual cost of running the AWS is about $300,000. But they say a proprietary system would require no less than $1 million.
Things we could never do before are possible with the cloud.
On a recent weekend, an event was held in central Tokyo. People crowd into a booth. About 1,000 people are on site. All of them are users of Amazon's cloud service. At one session,
We have 2 lectures by AWS Samurai from Okinawa and Kyushu.
lecturers dressed as samurai. AWS Samurai are experts on the use of AWS. 4 are nominated every year. Users nationwide meet at these annual events to exchange information on cloud strategies. A big draw this year is case studies from major firms.
How many of you are involved in corporate systems? Thank you. eJAWS is open only to those in charge of corporate systems.
eJAWS, a community of corporate users of the cloud system, has also been established. As there is no initial investment and fees are usage-based, much like utilities. Registrations have increased sharply. In 2011, Amazon set up a data center in Tokyo and is aggressively promoting the service in Japan.
Is it easy to use for restaurant chains? Restaurant chains typically have several thousand restaurants with tens of millions, hundreds of millions of customers. So a large volume and wide range of data can be collected and utilized.
Skylark Group, which runs 3,000 casual dining restaurants such as Gusto and Jonathan, also began fully utilizing the system this February.
The first 15 seconds after a customer enters the store is the moment of truth. Let's make sure to focus and be on time.
What is the 15 seconds of truth they stress at every morning meeting?
It's the top reply in our surveys, what we call the moment of truth. Customers will decide how they feel about a store in the first 15 seconds.
Customers serviced in the first 15 seconds after arrival, even during peak hours, are said to be more likely to come back. This is where big data comes into play.
This is the forecast for customer arrivals. We use this to adjust employee shifts when they start and finish work in 10-minute units.
Until recently, shifts were adjusted in half-hour units. But by using big data, they've been able to set schedules in 10-minute blocks.
It's completely different. We need to know how many people to have on staff at 11:40, 11:50, and at noon, or else we'll fall behind.
At Skylark headquarters, they are analyzing a coupon distribution scheme that was tested at some regional stores.
We promoted avocado dishes this time. A new design was used to target women. We believe it attracted the homemakers we were aiming for.
By using big data, market analysis that used to take several weeks is possible in less than an hour. The test results are immediately shared with stores nationwide. Sales and weather forecasts, as well as information on marketing campaigns, are also included. While convenience stores have long used such systems, big data has made it possible to give restaurants individualized and detailed forecasts.
We can get more detailed data in real time. It speeds up our ability to improve business.
How can businesses best utilize the treasure trove of big data? Figuring that out will be critical for restaurant chains across the country to survive in the fiercely competitive industry.
Well, I thought it was quite amazing that they can forecast the customer traffic by the minute.
It was, wasn't it? And it's expected that the big data market will expand quite rapidly. Now, if we can take a look at this graph over here, according to one study, it's forecast to reach $1 billion in Japan by 2017.
But at the same time, I understand there are issues.
Yes, there certainly are. The first is the safeguarding of privacy. Now, information is collected under big data in a way that you can't really identify particular users, but experts do point out that it's still possible by combining different caches of information, kind of like triangulation.
And another issue that I find is the store loyalty cards that all of us have nowadays. Every time we make a purchase, that information goes to the company. And I know things like big data can make our lives more convenient, but if individuals can be identified, that's kind of a scary thought.
It certainly is, isn't it? So I think before we fully embrace the idea of big data, we need to ensure that there are safeguards in place to protect personal information.
And that brings us to the end of this edition of Channel Japan. We have much more in store for you, so join us again next week.
As the future evolves, Toyota is envisioning a more interconnected life where information and energy flow seamlessly throughout the globe. The road ahead will require diverse and eco-friendly mobility solutions. It is on this path that our small choices lead to big changes. Life. Connected. Toyota.
Mitsubishi Electric is helping to change the environment for the better around the world.
Green subway systems in India.
Green solar power systems in Singapore.
Sistem AC ramah lingkungan di Indonesia.
Eco changes for a greener tomorrow. Mitsubishi Electric.
Channel Japan. Your source for the voices and views of people and businesses across Japan. The latest reports on Japanese companies, culture, and technology. Find out what's happening on the ground. Every week, direct from Tokyo, Channel Japan.